My daughter forged my signature at the school so she could take a luxury trip to Paris. She thought I would fold and babysit for free. That was the moment everything in my quiet life began to shift, though I did not know it yet. My name is Hawthorne Ellis. I am 64. I had planned for a still, uneventful Christmas, a cup of weak peppermint tea, an early bedtime, and the kind of silence that feels less like loneliness and more like a room finally exhaling. After decades of raising Mila alone and then spending years being folded into her crises, I had grown used to carving out peace wherever it would fit. Living in Portland taught me to move with the rain, not against it. The morning drizzle tapped my window, echoing my mood steady, predictable, uncomplicated. I had no plans besides a simple holiday shift and a dinner I could heat in a single pan. At my age, quiet felt like a victory. Mila and I were speaking, technically, but not in the way mothers and daughters usually do. She called when she needed something, texted when she wanted a reaction, disappeared when I hoped for normal conversation. I stopped expecting warmth, and she stopped pretending to offer it. Our relationship had settled into a pattern that looked calm from the outside but pulsed with old bruises. As I folded laundry, 3 sharp knocks hit the door. Mila never showed up without warning. She never visited at all unless there was more to the story. The sound carried a tension I recognized from years ago. Before I reached the doorknob, a familiar tension knotted in my chest, the same one from years of last-minute crises with Mila. I realized my quiet Christmas was about to collapse. Mila brushed past me the moment the door opened, her hair still damp from the rain, her breathing sharp like she'd been rushing. She didn't even look at me when she dropped her bag onto the floor. "Okay. Mom, listen. You're watching the kids for the holiday," she said, already pacing the small stretch of hallway like the decision had been made hours ago. "I'm not available," I answered, keeping my voice steady. "I have a shift on the 23rd and another on the 24th. Mandatory." Mila waved a hand, dismissing the words the way she used to swat at flies during summer. "It's just answering phones. Mom, you don't need to be there in person. You can stay home with them." I felt the old sting under my ribs, the familiar ache of being talked over, talked past. My job doesn't work like that. "Mila, I don't get to call out. People depend on me. People depend on me too." She shot back, though she didn't specify who. "And I need this trip. You'll handle the kids. They love being with you anyway." I didn't say no because I don't love them. I said no because I can't. I answered, "I don't have the hours. I don't have the space. And you didn't even ask me." Mila finally stopped moving. She looked at me with that bright, too wide smile she always used when she needed something. "Mom," she said softly, "just do this one thing. It's Christmas." "It doesn't change my schedule," I said. "It doesn't change my responsibilities." She blinked once, long and slow, like she was resetting her expression. Then her voice sharpened. "You're watching them. End of discussion." Mila. But she was already grabbing her bag, already halfway out the door. "I'll text you the details later," she called behind her. The door shut before I could answer. Her footsteps hurried down the stairs, fading into the cold hallway, leaving the smell of her perfume and the silence she always managed to twist into something heavy. The call came less than 3 hours after Mila slammed my door. I had just sat down with a reheated bowl of soup when my phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number from the east side of Portland. "Ms. Ellis," a woman asked as soon as I answered. Her voice was polite but tense. "This is Linda from Cedar Hill Elementary. We've been trying to reach Mila and her husband, but their phones go straight to voicemail." I straightened in my chair. "Is something wrong? School dismisses early today for the holiday break, and we urgently need confirmation on who's authorized to pick up the children. You're listed as the primary guardian." The spoon slipped from my fingers. I'm not the guardian. I didn't authorize anything. There was a pause. Papers rustled on her end. The updated emergency form was submitted this morning. It has your full information and your signature. My signature. My voice scraped out. Thin and disbelieving. Yes, ma'am. Would you like me to email you a copy? Send it, I said, already opening my laptop with shaking hands. The PDF arrived within seconds. I clicked it open and stared at the bottom of the page. My name flowed in a messy curve, similar enough to pass a glance, but wrong. Too rushed. Too careless. Too confident. Linda hesitated again. Ms. Ellis, we want to follow procedure properly. If no authorized adult arrives within 2 hours after dismissal, we're required to notify Child Protective Services. 12:30. I repeated quietly. What time is it now? 11:15. My chest tightened. It was impossible to get across town, pick up 2 kids I wasn't supposed to be responsible for, and still make my shift. Even if I did, I had nowhere to take them. No plan. No warning. Mila knew that. She knew every limitation I had. She'd counted on them. Ms. Ellis, Linda asked, "Do you intend to pick them up?" I stared at the forged signature again. The curve of a lie wearing my name. "No," I said, "I can't. And I didn't sign that form." Linda inhaled sharply. "In that case, we'll have to begin the CPS protocol. I understand." My soup had gone cold. The apartment felt smaller than it had in years. The forged signature stayed open on my screen, the loop of the E jutting upward like a taunt. Like a finger pressed hard into an old bruise, Mila hadn't just assumed I'd obey. She'd built a trap and signed my name to it. I stared at the forged signature until the lines blurred, and all I could think about were the years that led here every quiet yes I'd handed Mila like loose change. The first time was when she was 19 and insisted I watch her newborn so she could take a quick nap. That nap became a full shift at her part-time job. She came home smiling, saying, "See, you're great with him. You don't mind helping." I did mind. I just didn't say it. Then came the money. $200 here, $500 there, $1,000 once when her car broke down. She promised repayment every time. I never saw a cent. When I mentioned it, she hugged me fast and light. "Mom, you know I'll make it right." But she never did. As the kids grew, so did the expectations. "Mom, can you pick them up? Mom, I'm running late. Mom, you don't mind watching them overnight." Right, I became the backup parent, the one who cooked, soothed, drove, paid, covered, absorbed, and adjusted, all while Mila moved through life like someone who believed the world would always rearrange itself for her. I remembered one night when she dropped the kids off without warning, already halfway down the steps before I could speak. "I owe you. Mom. Promise." She didn't look back. Each moment chipped away at what I hadn't guarded: my money, my time, my space, my voice. And now, staring at that falsified form, I finally saw it clearly. Every small betrayal I swallowed had led straight to this one, signed with my stolen name. I sat with the school's email open, the forged signature staring back at me like it had weight. My phone vibrated again, another call from the same number, but I let it ring out. I needed to think, and thinking felt like trying to breathe inside a tightening room. If I went to pick up Mila's kids, everything would play out the same way it always had. She'd come home from whatever she was planning, whisper an apology that felt more like a pat on the head, and I'd be the one left holding the consequences. She'd learn nothing, change nothing, and the next crisis would land in my lap even faster. But if I didn't pick them up, then CPS would step in. Real people. Real procedures. A real investigation. I didn't want that. I didn't want her children frightened or confused. I didn't want strangers deciding whether Mila was irresponsible or unfit, but Mila had already made that decision for herself. I called the school office. "This is Hawthorne Ellis," I said. "I'm sending an email immediately to update the emergency file and clarify the situation." Linda's voice came through, cautious, of course. "What will it say? That the signature on the Guardian form is fraudulent," I replied, "and that I'm not authorized to pick them up. I don't consent to being listed." I heard her inhale. "Ms. Ellis, if no Guardian arrives by 12:30, I know." I said, "I understand your protocol." I hung up and typed the message slowly. Deliberately. I stated the forgery. I stated my inability to pick the children up. I attached a scan of my driver's license with my real signature beside the fake one. Before hitting send, I whispered into the empty room, "I can't keep protecting her from herself." Then I clicked. The email left my outbox, and a cold stillness filled the space it had occupied, the kind of stillness that comes right before something breaks open. The moment the email left my screen, I picked up the phone. My hands were steady in a way that didn't match the tightness in my chest. I called the school first. Linda answered on the second ring. "Ms. Ellis, we received your email. I need you to confirm it's attached to the file." I said, "I want everything documented." "It is," she replied, her tone more formal now. "Given the circumstances, we have no choice but to initiate the CPS protocol if no one arrives by 12:30. "I understand," I said, "and I'm grateful you called." I hung up before the tremor in my voice could slip through. The second call was harder. I dialed Portland's non-emergency police line, the number I knew by heart from years of keeping it taped inside my kitchen drawer. "Portland Police Bureau. How can I help you?" a calm male voice asked. "My name is Hawthorne Ellis," I said. "I need to report a welfare concern involving 2 minors at Cedar Hill Elementary." He asked for details, and I told him everything. How Mila updated the school form without telling me, how she listed me as guardian, how she left the country without arranging care. "You're saying the parents can't be reached at all?" he asked. "That's right. They left this morning. They're on a flight to Paris." "That's serious," he murmured. "I'll create a report and forward it to the officer assigned to the school. CPS will be notified." "Thank you," I said quietly. "I want everything documented accurately." After the call ended, I sat still for a beat. Then I reached for my phone again. This time, I dialed the Portland International Airport customer service line and asked to be transferred to the airline operating the Paris flight. A gate agent answered, sounding rushed. "I'm calling because 2 minor children were left at their elementary school," I said. "Their parents are on your flight to Paris. The school is calling CPS right now." The agent stopped breathing for half a second. "Left at school without authorized guardians. Ma'am, that's considered a serious neglect concern." "Yes," I said. "And they need to be contacted before that plane takes off." "I'm escalating immediately," he said. "Stay on the line." Voices shuffled in the background. Another voice, firmer, supervisory, came through. "Ms. Ellis, thank you for alerting us. We'll locate the passengers at the gate right now." I ended the call and set the phone down. The apartment was silent except for my own breathing, steady and strange in my ears. The truth had finally been sent into motion, and somewhere across the city, it was already reaching the people who needed to hear it. I was still sitting at my kitchen table when my phone lit up with a series of rapid texts from a number I didn't recognize at first. They came in fragments, almost like someone typing while walking fast. "Mom, what did you do? They're calling our names. Why are there officers here?" I didn't respond. I kept the phone face down, my heart thudding in a slow, heavy rhythm. A few minutes later, my phone rang. I let it go to voicemail, but the shaky recording played automatically. "Mom, they announced our names at the gate." Mila's voice was sharp, breathless. They said we need to step aside before boarding. What's going on? Her words cut off abruptly, replaced by a man's voice speaking quietly in the background. Are you Mila Thompson and Ryan Thompson? We need you to come with us. Then Ryan's voice tight, angry. This is insane. We're supposed to be on a flight to Paris. The recording picked up Mila again, her panic rising. Our kids are fine. They're with... She stopped. She had no lie prepared. No story that made sense without me playing the part she assigned me. Another click. A second voicemail. Mom. She hissed. There are police here and some woman from Child Protective Services. They're saying the kids were left at school. They're saying we abandoned them. Do something. The sound of Ryan arguing bled through, his words indistinct but furious. Someone else spoke firmly, likely the CPS worker. Ma'am, you'll need to return to Cedar Hill Elementary immediately. Mila's breath hitched. We can't miss this flight. We spent so much. This isn't optional, the worker replied. The voicemail ended with Mila crying, footsteps, and a burst of airport noise before the line cut off. I sat very still. The room around me felt too quiet, too hollow. My daughter was being escorted away from a dream vacation she'd prioritized over her own children. Officers walking her back through the terminal, a CPS worker waiting at the school, her husband arguing with everyone in sight. Part of me ached for her. For the version of Mila I used to believe still lived under all that entitlement. But another part, one I'd ignored for too long, finally felt the weight lifting from my shoulders. My phone started vibrating again before Mila and Ryan even made it back across the city. This time, it wasn't Mila. It was the family group chat Ellis Circle, a thread that stayed quiet most of the year unless someone got married or someone died. Mila's first message came in all caps. My own mother ruined Christmas. Then another. She called the police on us. She made them drag us off the flight within seconds. Replies poured in. Aunt Lorraine Hawthorne, how could you? They saved for that trip for months. Uncle Joel, you went too far. Family doesn't report family. Cousin Sherry, you know Mila struggles. You should have helped instead of humiliating her. I stared at the screen as a dozen judgments piled on top of one another, none of them asking what actually happened. None of them wondering why two children had been left at an elementary school with no one coming for them. No one asked me a single thing. Then Mila sent a voice message, 40 seconds of pure fury. You don't care about me! She sobbed. You don't care about my marriage, my dreams, anything. You just wanted control. You wanted to punish me. You destroyed everything. The accusation hit with the familiar precision of someone who had practiced blaming me her whole life. I opened my photo gallery. I took 2 screenshots. The first was the forged emergency contact form with my stolen signature. The second was my mandatory work schedule highlighted and sent by my supervisor the week before. I attached both screenshots to the group chat. Then I typed one line. This is what actually happened. No defense. No argument, no anger. The messages in the chat slowed, then stopped. The typing bubbles vanished. For the first time all day, the thread went silent. New Year's morning arrived with the kind of stillness that makes every sound sharper. I was making coffee when I heard an envelope slide under my door. No knock, no footsteps lingering, just the soft scrape against the floor. I bent down and picked it up. My name was written in crooked marker strokes. Child handwriting. Inside was a folded sheet of construction paper. Lily, my granddaughter, had drawn me standing beside a Christmas tree. My hair was silver, my headset too large for my head, and a small caption floated over the drawing in shaky letters. Grandma helps people at Christmas. The breath I didn't know I was holding slipped out. She didn't know anything about what happened. Not the plane, not CPS, not the screaming in the group chat. But somehow, she still saw me clearly. A second slip of paper was tucked behind the drawing, a printed confirmation of a money transfer. Ryan had sent $500. The memo line read for the next babysitter deposit. No apology, no explanation. Just a quiet acknowledgement that something had shifted. An admission wrapped in the only language he seemed able to offer. I sat at the table with the drawing in front of me, my fingers smoothing the edges. The chaos of the past week felt distant for a moment. Lighter, not fixed, not forgiven, but different. My phone buzzed with a text from Mila. I let it sit unread. She wasn't ready. And maybe I wasn't either. But Lily's drawing stayed on the table. Bright, certain, untouched by adult excuses. Something in me settled, then not healed, not finished. But finally standing on ground that felt like mine. 1 year later, Christmas Day ended the same way it began. Quiet, steady, mine. I had just finished my holiday shift when my phone buzzed with a short message from Mila. We hired a babysitter this year. Everything is covered. Enjoy your evening, no emojis, no extra sentences. Just information, finally delivered, without expectation. I drove home through the Portland rain, the kind that drummed steadily on the windshield, echoing the quiet I'd fought so hard to earn. When I stepped inside my apartment, I hung up my coat, lit the small fireplace, and powered my phone off. Not silence out of anger, silence out of choice. The warmth settled around me as I sat on the couch, the room soft and dim. For the first time in years, no one was on their way to drop off kids, ask for money, or demand a favor wrapped in guilt. No sudden knocks, no frantic texts, no forged signatures waiting to explode into crisis. Just calm. A year of boundaries had finally taken root, and the space it created felt like oxygen. What opens up when you finally choose a life that belongs to you? If this story pulled you in, make sure to like, leave a comment, and subscribe for more stories like this.